Good morning. In this week's Sidra of Teitzei, we have right at the beginning of the parsha one of the most difficult and perhaps controversial mitzvot in the entire Torah. And what I'm speaking about is the Yafat Torah, the beautiful woman. The Torah sets the scene. The Jewish army goes to war, they prevail against their enemies, and amongst the captives, one of the Jewish soldiers sees a beautiful woman, and he desires her. Now, we all know what usually happens in those situations in war. You don't have to look hard or imagine very deeply. Rabbi Goldfein of blessed memory always used to say that the nature of war is that it unleashes our most animalistic passions. We go out there to kill, and especially in those days, it's all, hand-to-hand fighting, and you just, all of that inner rage and whatever else goes out there. And we can understand that passions are high, and unfortunately we know that such situations, when there are women around, rarely end well. And so what you have here is really a looming disaster in every way. A disaster for this poor woman, what's going to happen to her. A disaster for the soldier, what he's going to become, what he's doing. A disaster for what might happen later on. He takes her home. What's going to happen later? Is he going to enslave her? Is he going to now sell her? Where is this going? What kind of impact is this going to have on her? What kind of impact is this going to have on him and on his family? And therefore, the Torah gives us a guideline to try to do whatever kind of mitigation and damage control is possible. The first point to understand is that the Torah understands when you are dealing with human passions, no rarely gets us anywhere. The campaigns that we've had against drugs for many decades, just say no, is great in theory. But in practice, when you're faced with temptation, just say no doesn't do the trick. You need something more sophisticated. Obviously, just say no is the bedrock. But you generally need something more sophisticated because it's very hard to say no when everything in your body is saying yes. And so the Torah says, okay, yes, but with very strict provisos. The first one is very clear from the text, and that is, this woman, you've got to make a choice. You can either take this woman and make her your wife, or don't touch her. That's already the kind of shotgun wedding scenario. There is no halfway over here. There's no idea of using her and then getting rid of her. You either commit to her or you leave her alone. That's the first thing the Torah makes very clear. But then there are many other laws. It speaks about cutting her hair, about her nails, about her clothing. And within this, I saw a wonderful book, Torah Me'etzion. Rabbi Yaakov Meidan has an essay on this where he says something magnificent about two different approaches to understanding this mitzvah, the approaches of Rashi and the Rambam. And he says the approach of Rashi is one that I think most people are more familiar with, that what the Torah is trying to do is minimize the religious and family damage. Because the Torah says, again, you are the disaster that you're asking for. Even if you commit to and marry this woman and bring her into your home, what's going to happen? She comes from a completely different culture and background. She's somebody who doesn't come from a space of any faith in Hashem. And how likely, realistically, is it that she will come to there? What's going to be with her affair? This is a marriage that's done not out of deep love and shared values, but out of passion and desire, with maybe they have actually nothing meaningful in common. This is a very bad idea, and there's a lot of damage going to come about. So therefore, what Rashi says is the Torah is trying to do is actually convince you to let her go, to call her quits, allow her to return home, to not go through with this whole thing, which will end in tears. Therefore, Rashi understands the Torah's commandments to say that shave off her hair so that she doesn't look so good, that her nails should be unkempt so she's unattractive, that you should not be wearing beautiful clothing, that she should be crying, and that over the time you're seeing her every day for a month with no makeup and red eyes and her hair's not done, this passion which was the basis, the only basis of the relationship, will have faded, and you'll be able to assess it more realistically. Rambam has a different approach. He's not looking at it from the perspective of the person and the family and the bad decision. He's looking at it from the perspective of a woman who was captured in war and now faces terrible prospects for the rest of her life. And he says the Torah is telling you have to treat her nicely. When it's speaking about changing her clothing, it's not saying change her from beautiful clothing to regular clothing. It's saying change her from the clothing of a refugee to nice clothing so she can feel good about herself. When it says cut her hair, it doesn't mean cut off her hair. It means she should have a nice haircut. Restore her self-esteem. Allow her to do her nails. Let her mourn, give her time to grieve. Give her the space, restore her self-esteem. The Rambam is saying, take care of this woman who has been plucked by war from her home and from her family, and help her to mourn, to grieve, to adjust, and to once again restore her into life and society. Now, both those concerns are true, both what Rashi lays out in terms of the danger of this kind of relationship and marriage, and what the Rambam is telling us about the way in which you need to treat this woman. Those are both very real factors. In some ways, they're opposite factors. They're tensions pulling us in different directions. But those both express very deep realities when you're dealing with a very difficult situation. And that's the one thing that I want to end with, is that the Torah does not construct artificially easy life decisions that obviously this is what you should do, and if we follow the Torah, everything will be fine. War is a very difficult situation. It creates immense moral and religious difficulties. And there is no easy way out, and it's something we have to grapple with, and it's something extremely uncomfortable. The Torah doesn't make it uncomfortable. Life is uncomfortable. What the Torah does is give us a map for navigating and charting our way out of that. Have a wonderful Shabbat.